Hi, welcome to part 3 of the mini mystery as part of the 2020 Tasty Treats with GourmetQuilter. I'm Susan Clare, GourmetQuilter, and we're doing a mystery this time, or we're solving a mystery, and we're into part 3 as I've just mentioned. There's more information on the website on GourmetQuilter.com. If you're interested in receiving all the notes so that you've got all the measurements and things, please go to the website GourmetQuilter.com and look for the mini mystery. And other than that, we'll get going with our part 3. So we've delved into some of our previous evidence. We've gone into B1 and we've taken off some squares, and we've also delved into our small amounts of fabric from our stash, and we've got some other squares. Now I've got 2 lots of fabric here that are quite similar, but they are just a little bit different. You might have some quite different ones. And I've gone ahead and I've marked, so all the notes tell you all this information. I've gone ahead and on the back of my B1 fabrics, I've marked a centre diagonal line, and I've also marked another one approximately ½ an inch away, and that's because I wanted to save my corners, because we'll be cutting them away, and we'll go ahead and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I'm just going to put these right sides together now with these other squares, and we're going to sew these, and we're going to sew on both of those lines so we can actually chain piece these through. So we'll just get this going here. So we can pop them in through. Chain piecing just simply means making a chain with them, so we can go straight through, try and keep them lined up. And so the idea of the second line is that we can sew that as well and then cut between the 2 lines and save the corner that we're cutting away for another delicious project. We won't need it as part of the evidence. Sometimes we come across things when we're doing an investigation, and some evidence we find is not helpful. So I've gone ahead and I've done the main diagonal line, so that if you don't want to save those corners with another line of sewing, that's fine. I'm going to stitch mine. So again, I would still just leave them in their chain and just pop them through and stitch on that second line that I've drawn there. So it doesn't take very long to do all this. This is kind of fun. I love a mystery. I love solving a mystery. I love gathering evidence, because who knows what's going to turn up. So I've done both lines of stitching. I'm just going to cut those apart now. And so with some mysteries, we just need to solve things little bit by little bit. So we're just uncovering a little bit of evidence this time. So now I'm just going to cut between the 2 lines of sewing there. So that I can save that piece, and I'm going to save those for later. I'm going to press these so that we'll have squares, but 2-tone squares. So even though we're not going to be using these cutaway corners, I'll just press one so that you can see what you're left with. We end up with some smaller half square triangle units, which, as I said, we don't need for this investigation, but it's kind of a good way, but just by doing that extra little line of sewing at the time, we've got something that we can use rather than just trim corners that we may not use. So now I've got my pieces of evidence here that need to be brought together into something that we can understand. So what we're going to do is pop them together in pairs. So I've got the 2 colours, one of each colour there, and then I've swapped them around for this bit here. So we're just going to join these up. So we'll go ahead and do that and gather our little evidence into something we recognise. we just want to trim those apart, and then we're just going to press them again. So I just want to press that seam one way, but we'll press them opposite ways because we want these to nestle, because we're keeping the triangles all going facing up the same way. So we need to turn this one around and press it the other way, so that when we join those together, the triangles are all in that lower left corner, or the same corner at least. And so by pressing the seams in opposite directions, we can nestle them where we join that up here. So I'll go ahead and do that, and we can press it and we can just see what sort of evidence we have uncovered in part 3. And now I'm just going to press that seam. You could press it open. I'm just going to press it one way because it seems to be quite happy to sit that way. So this is the evidence we're uncovering in part 3. So with our labels that we had that was spare, we should label that. So that is now going to be labelled 3A, so that we know where that piece of evidence came from, and we can store it in our tray. We've got a 2A, and now we've got a 3A as well. So we can just keep all our evidence together, keep it labelled so that we know what's what. We can put our B1 back amongst our resources for our evidence collecting, and I will see you again with part 4.